relentless life is the only life worth living. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Relentless Life. I'm your host, Relentless Jake, and we're back in the beautiful Chi-Town in Illinois, or aka Chirac in Illinois. It's kind of great to be back. I missed a lot of the bad weather, which was nice. A lot of people who don't know me very well are like, man, you missed all the bad weather. One, I didn't miss nothing. And two, given my lifestyle, don't you think I kind of planned it that way? I'm going to obviously constantly look at the weather and it's like, it's -3 and it feels like -15. Yeah, well, looks like I'm going to have to do some work in Tampa. And then I started seeing the weather start to increase and go into the 20s and into the 30s. And then I saw the weekend was going to be in the 40s and it was actually the 50s. And I said, okay, maybe I'll mosey on back up to Chirac and enjoy all the beautiful, stupid politics, which we're dumber than ever here, which is nice because, you know, home is always going to be home, and it wouldn't be home if things weren't running catastrophe-like. The good news is we do have restaurants that are open here finally, but it's at 40%, which I can't get over how stupid. This just solidifies my point of when you have one party basically being a part of a city for so long, literally taking over. And I'm talking about the Democratic Party. If you look at the history of Chicago, it's been the Democratic Party straight down the board. No matter left or right or Republican or Democrat, when one party takes over for the entire time in the history of a city, too much power on one point, eventually things are going to go topsy-turvy. And I feel like Chicago kind of deserves the things that come her way. And, you know, anybody who knows or has been following like restaurateurs, people who are trying to run a small business, and restaurant business is one of probably the toughest to do. And everybody has said the same thing, that they need to run at least about 50% capacity just to break even. Chicago for the last 12 or 10 months, almost, it's going to be 12 months soon, has either been shut down completely, takeout only, or 25% capacity. And for whatever reason, now they decided, well, 25%, man, we're going to go up to 40%, which is just below the number that a restaurant needs to break even. How stupid can you be? Oh, I forgot. Beetlejuice is in charge of Chicago. And she ruined one of my favorite Halloween characters. Thank you very much, Beetlejuice. You just keep sticking that finger in the light socket and working on that hairdo of yours because it's just atrocious as ever. But like I said, it is great to be back. I got the kombucha. I insulted Chicago, so now it's time to try this. Let's see. Health Aid Kombucha. Health Aid's the brand, and it's a bubbly probiotic tea. Which I knew that, but this is one of the brands that promotes it at that. And this is Passion Fruit Tangerine. I don't know if I'm going to like it. I'll be honest. I don't know. Let's try. All right. Yep. I don't know. The jury's out. Let's see. Let's see if it gets me through this podcast. It's different. Certainly not my favorite. I think my new favorite is that tart cherry. That's good stuff. Don't worry, woke people. I'm not gonna be hard on you today. I'm gonna talk about some basic things. I want to go over like what to expect for the future, and you know, kind of this is sort of like housekeeping things. You know, going into the podcast, there's obviously been some growing pains, and so I want to talk about like that. Some people have asked me like, what happened to the Don't Be a Karen podcast, and I was like, what are you talking about? It's been doing great. It was actually my highest downloaded podcast. And so I was like, well, I went back and looked at it, and on Podbean, you can't download it anymore. So I don't know if you guys already have it. If you downloaded it, you probably have access to it, but nobody else can go on there and find Don't Be a Karen. So I'm not sure, maybe had too many Karens complain about the whole Don't Be a Karen thing, and now it's shadow banned. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reload it. So if you're listening now, you're eventually probably earlier or later on this week, you're going to see another upload of Don't Be a Karen podcast for that reason, because for some reason you can't get access to it now. So I don't know. I did receive some hate from it, but that was mainly on YouTube. And sometimes it's funny because haters are some of my best lovers. Because if you're taking the time to listen to my entire podcast and then you're taking the time to type on the keyboard angrily, banging away at the keys, happy to be as insulting as you possibly can, which if you think that's insulting, I just laugh most of the time. What people don't realize is when they try to attack somebody like me, you're in my world. You're in my world. You're better off to probably, take me on face to face. But then again, that's even more of my world, because then I can literally see your insecurities oozing out of your pores. I can feel it through the keyboard. But if you're, and I only say all that because it was on the Don't Be a Karen video. And so I responded back and forth, and I did not respond in kind, which I won't do if I get some hate. Sometimes I'll just delete it if I just think the person's a complete hack, or if I think they're a hack, but it would be fun for me to make them more angry. And so I bought into this one, and I did respond. This person responded back, probably Karen, and the dialogue got dumber and dumber as we went down. And then suddenly I went back to it and I couldn't find it. So I don't know if this wannabe Karen from her basement or her parents' basement or wherever she's at in the snow caps of like Alaska, I don't know if she deleted it or YouTube shadow banned it, but I can't find it anymore. And I don't know if anybody else saw it. So it was weird. I'm really bummed because I wanted to actually read it, and I couldn't find it. So I'm not sure why it's not up there anymore, but I can't see it. So I'm sorry, Karen, that you ended up deleting it, but I'm sure you'll write another hateful comment that it just helps my channel out, idiot. So continue on writing comments because I appreciate you involving yourself. Way to be proactive, because it's probably the best thing you've done all day is actually take the time to put together somewhat of a coherent sentence and put it on keyboard form and try to sound smart, but you're not. I'm going to try this kombucha again. I don't know. Okay, it's a little better the second time. I'll just get used to it. I might like it. I don't know. Don't worry, COVID lovers, because guess what? This news I'm excited to share with you. Most people don't know it. The media hasn't even grabbed a hold of it yet, and I will say the media knows about it, but they're probably trying to hold it back because they don't want it to get out there. But you're going to hear it first from me. COVID lovers out there, guess what? You don't have to worry about COVID for the next 14 days because COVID contracted Jake and has now involved in the Jake virus. So COVID has to be quarantined for the next 14 days because they got my carcinogenic energies out there. So don't worry about COVID for a while. We can sit back on that and kind of enjoy life. I don't take anything personally today, whatever I say. It's been traveling, bouncing back and forth, and staying out of the bad weather and going from sunshine to sunshine. It's not a way to brag, but I think coming back to Chicago, I'm always in awe of how some things and some people just don't change. But it's all good. Yeah. We're going to try it again. Kombucha time. I heard, for all you COVID lovers out there, I did hear that the CDC And somebody brought this up to me when I was at a military conference, and they had the inside scoop. There's always somebody who like knows more than you, and it's like, oh, I know a guy who knows a guy who works there, and he told me this. But I didn't hear it. The first time I heard about it, and I guess everybody knows about this, so I guess I live with my head in the sand like an ostrich. But apparently, CDC has announced that they're going to extend the mask wearing for an additional year, which makes sense considering they've got the vaccination is out now, and things are seemingly slowing the spread. And yeah, a year of mask wearing definitely makes sense to me because that's been working. I don't get it. I just, I'm not opposed. I think some people, even when the mask no longer is, necessary, I think some of you should still wear a mask so I don't have to look at your nasty face, screaming and bickering at everybody else. Those people who enjoy wearing the masks, I'm all for it. Wear it. Go ahead. The rest of us want to deal with life and live life and meet people and see smiling faces and get back to normal society. Those of you who don't want to do that, well, that's fine. Stay in your basements and, keep your little face diapers on. Stay away from society. Don't make the rest of us miserable. But I guess we're going to be doing that for the next year because I did read something, and I was going to bring it in front, but why not? Let's just wing it. Numbers and stats don't really matter anyway because people kind of use the numbers and stats just to benefit themselves. But in order to find facts to basically sort of refute where COVID is going, you have to really dig deep. And so it's hard to find real solid facts, to make the COVID thing look less than what it is. And what I mean by that is if you look at all the main media sources, they're really excited to share with you 500,000 people have now died in the US from COVID. Dun, dun, dun. And when you look at the numbers and then the distance of that time, so if you go back in March and you go from March to almost coming up to a year, I'm not to minimize it, but the numbers aren't really that staggering if you look at how many people actually contracted COVID, which was probably most people these days. Now, on record, they have about 23 million plus. Maybe it's more than that at this point. I don't know. That's just a guess off the top of my head. But 23 million plus, and out of those 23 million plus in the States alone, 500,000 supposedly died. That turns out to be a number of about like 0.017% or something. Someone can check my numbers, but it's low. That's the point. And then when you look at that 500,000 people, you're also, let's look at the outliers compared to those who had pre-existing conditions. And then people who would eventually have died from other causes naturally. COVID might have expedited that point. But, I mean, come on. If I someday, maybe I'm at a point where I'm in my 90s. I'm dying of old age. Let's call it for what it is. And if we're afraid to face death, we're never going to truly live life, are we? That whole statement of a coward dies 1,000 deaths, a hero dies but one. And some of you people will probably roll your eyes at that, but you're the same people who call everybody a hero these days, which isn't true. Not everybody's a hero. In fact, again, hero is cheapened. And then we use this COVID thing to make things. I know I talk about it a lot, but it keeps coming up. And one of the things that keeps it's important to me is whether or not we're going to continue to wear these masks. And the problem with the mask thing is I now understand like that the health risks that go into wearing masks for long periods of time. One of the doctors at the clinic I went to basically warned me of that, and he recommended when I'm wearing a mask, as long as I am, that I change the mask multiple times a day. He said, on minimum, you should probably change your mask twice a day. Just certainly during the winter months because of all the germs and viruses that you're currently facing. So I've been doing that. I'm not a germaphobe. Never have been. I'm kind of a stupid human phobe, if that's a phobia. I can't stand being around dummies, only because I know my reaction isn't always isn't always great. But the thing is like the media doesn't. They're almost bummed that things are slowing down. The spread is slowing and it's getting better. And now they don't know what to do. They're kind of scrambling. I'm just waiting for them to come back. Like, there's a new wave. It's COVID-20. COVID-20 is going to be the most deadly COVID of all. Just lock your doors, put on your face mask, and now we're going to need helmets because it's going to attack the brain from the, I don't know, antennas of... It's going to be something more ridiculous, and trust me, some of these idiots are going to believe it. And I know there's some of you out there listening to this that think I'm the idiot because, I don't buy into this whole COVID thing because I don't see the numbers as big. And not that I minimize death, but I also don't dwell on death. If I dwelled on death, that's a pretty depressing way to live life, and I think some people just want that. These are the same people that want everything to be PC, though. They don't really have much of a sense of humor. They're quick to cancel, but lo and behold, at some point, you will be canceled too. If you're part of that cancel culture, woke people, I'm going to pause because woke doesn't really 100%, and actually not at all, explain these people. They're not woke. They're truly head in the pillow asleep. And since it's like more of a political agenda, and we do need a third-party system, I'm going to recommend that the woke people start their own party. I really do. And I think they should call it the Slumber Party. Yeah, that's a good one. The Slumber Party. Perfect for pillow fights and everything's fun and dandy and it's going to go my way. And if it's not my way, I'm just going to kick and scream and go home. And cancel everybody else out. You're going to have to bear with me. I did this podcast. As I'm shooting this podcast, it's late. I just got back from my travels. And I'm in my hotel. And they didn't give me the... one of the good things about the hotel I always go back to in the Chicagoland area, I refuse to stay downtown anymore. But in the Chicagoland area, I'm actually in Bolingbrook, Illinois. You guys can Google that. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But I love the town of Bolingbrook. So every time I talk about Chicago, I am not in Chicago. So I am not bashing Bolingbrook. I love Bolingbrook. Anyway, Bolingbrook happens to have almost... I don't know. I think this hotel is probably 90% capacity this weekend, which is great. But as a result, I didn't get the suite that I normally get. So I'm in a smaller hotel, and I'm a little bummed because I've been spoiled. They've been good to me here, so I can't complain. But I'm saying all that to basically say, just bear with me. I'm still getting my bearings after everything else going on. Okay, so there's some major things I do want to talk about. One of them is involved with my fitness company, which is Relentless Muscle, and kind of the online channel, and then going into the online workouts. The website I am working on, and those of you who are not aware of the website, it's relentlessfit365.com. That's relentlessfit365.com. See, this is why I'm changing it, because it's a mouthful. Eventually, the website's just going to be relentlessmuscle.com. And it's other things too. If you put in relentlessjake.com, it will direct you to Relentless Fit 365. So, but eventually it's going to be parked on relentlessmuscle.com. So I'm reworking the website. It's taken way longer than I had hoped, because I've been lucky during COVID where I have traveled around, and as a result of that, I haven't really been able to lock myself in four walls and actually spend the time necessary to really get this website done. But reworking the website has also caused me to rework the format of how the website is going. Those of you who've been members on Relentless Fit 365 for as long as you have, I can't thank you enough. And trust me, you're the reason why I can take it to another level, and that's what I'm working on, continuing to work on not as we speak, but certainly this week and going into the next week, and hopefully sometime in March, maybe April. March is hopeful. April's probably more realistic, just because I know every time I get close to something, there's always a pinch in the system that slows it down. But I told you I had housekeeping things to talk about. This is one of them. That's the website. Those of you who are not familiar with Relentless Fit 365 website, originally when I started it, I was doing live videos, and it was on a membership-based website where it's still $14.99 a month, where you go in and every week there's a new workout, and it's a video-based sort of workout routine that you can do that covers 6 days out of your week. So it kind of takes the thought out of it, but it's all video-based. I never wanted to raise the rate originally when we started. It was $9.99, and I say we, I had others working with me. I took bad advice, and that's what happens when you take bad advice, and it's kind of hard to raise something in the lower back, but that's eventually going to change completely. No, I'm not going to raise any rates. I'm going to leave it at that. Just understand that there are going to be some changes with Relentless Fit 365, and I'm only bringing it up so people who are on it know I have not been ignoring it. The reason they haven't seen any major changes on that platform is that I'm working on a secondary platform that will still have that part of it, but it's only going to be a small part of what to expect in the future of Relentless Muscle. One of the other good things about Relentless Muscle that I'm going to add on is going to be an additional app. Now, the application will offer programs where if those of you who can go into the gym, you will have a program that you can follow along and basically take the thought out of your training. And it's a muscle building program. So this app is just kind of, it covers your workouts. It shows you, it tells you what reps to do, which exercises to do, but it's directed around people who can get to the gym. So just keep that in mind as well. Now, those of you who did online training with me are familiar with that platform of the app, but I am redoing it. It's not going to be Relentless Fit anymore. Again, it's going to be Relentless Muscle. So there's some new things coming into the woodwork that I have been working on. One of the major reasons is that obviously I'm going to continue with the live workouts, doing the PRS workouts with you guys. And, that's not going to change anytime soon. And, at some point it might change, but right now I like where it's going. It's good for me. It's helping others. And I'm not concerned about some of the haters who don't like it. It's always interesting that I don't see comments from certain people for months and months until they want to impress their opinion on me. Which I'm not a big fan of opinions, especially coming from the peanut gallery. I don't even eat peanuts, so keep it out of the peanut gallery. Keep your peanuts to yourself. That didn't sound good. But anyways, still, regardless, keep your peanuts to yourself. But they're going to say it anyway, and that's just kind of the way the world works. The good thing for me is I stayed with this platform, being YouTube, and I've continued on with the direction that I'm going because I enjoy it, and I know that others get some things out of it, and I hope some of you guys enjoy it as well. I'm not doing things specifically to make certain people happy. So just understand that, I like some suggestions, but keep in mind that there's a lot of thought on my end as to why, I do certain things. And one of the major reasons I think a lot of people don't think about is that it's got to be sustainable. It has to be something that I personally can do day in and day out, time and again. Just because, some putz boy who never leaves a comment decides he's going to come out of his closet and say, you should keep going back to the HIIT workouts and do the thing that you used to do. Well, guess what? Chump sack. I'm not sure what's with the name calls. But it's helping for whatever reason. It's helping me get through this. Not get through the podcast, but just get through this part of the podcast, because I didn't really want to rail into it, but it does annoy me because, there's a community that's been very helpful, very active that I enjoy. And I see you guys 6 days or 5 days a week. Sorry, that's not a subliminal message that it might be 6. But it used to be 6 days a week. Now it's 5. And I understand that some people miss the old channel where I went in, I did a lot of high intensity interval training, and then I sprinkled in strength training. I sprinkled in some MMA stuff. I sprinkled in some core, but there was a lot of HIIT involved. Why? Well, that was, the company was at a different place then. And I personally was at a different place. So let me pull it back a little bit. When I talk about things that have to be sustainable, they also have to be sustainable for the one that's doing them. That's me. And we're talking about a world where I could travel from the East Coast to the West Coast within a drop of a dime. By doing this, it's not going to be sustainable for me to go from one hotel to the other and do a 30-10 tempo or an evolution tempo where I'm doing like high intensity interval training and I'm doing jumping and halfway hit and stuff and working the heart rate like that. I can't do that 3 times a week. I can't even do that once or twice a week for a couple of reasons. One of them is the logistics behind that are impossible, which means, I always have to request a first floor on the hotel, in the hotel. And I don't always want to be on the first floor. And some people might ask why. Well, that's because you don't think of everything. You're only thinking of your selfish reasons. And the people who are the most selfish are the ones who have not put anything into this. And they're probably not even listening to this. So I'm just kind of venting to all the people that I like right now. And I appreciate you listening. Before I get too crazy, let me try this kombucha for a fourth time now. Yeah, it's getting better. It definitely is. I think, yeah. It's like you have your favorites, but then there's like, you have your old standbys, and then there's like new things. And I have to agree with the guy. It's kind of nice to change brands and change flavors, and I'm liking this health passion fruit tangerine. It's pretty good stuff. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. So logistically, I have to stick with basic strength training. I have to stick with certain tempos. Sometimes it seems like you're doing the same thing over and over again. Well, guess what? That's the world of reality. That's what fitness is. Fitness is hitting rep after rep after rep after laborious rep. That's how you get into better shape. I don't care what programs you see out there on Instagram or what programs you see from this guy named V-Shred on YouTube where he talks about all this other shenanigans. I hate to drop a name, but he's on, his ads are on my videos all the time, and I want to strangle the guy. But he's a puppet. He's a puppet. It's not. I don't even know if it's his company. The way he talks, I don't even know if he knows that much about fitness. I think he's more of like a model or something, which I've dealt with models who tried to be personal trainers, and it's it's laughable. It's funny because they work out maybe once a week, or they have a modeling gig come up and suddenly they're interested in trying to get into shape, but it's really all about looks for them. It's not necessary. It's never really about fitness. Anyway, my point is, it's about constant reps. Fitness is about consistency, doing the same thing over and over and over again while improving the numbers, while improving the weight, or while improving the form, and continuing to try to pile on more workload to get better at things. That's the basic, but that's kind of the idea. What people end up seeing on Instagram and with these Instagram models is what they're seeing the final product. And that final product, what's not told is all the other things that have gone on to show that final product. Like, I'm going to show my abs. Well, first of all, there's some genetics behind people who have a 6-pack or 8-pack or just look shredded in general. And then a lot of that goes into nutrition. And we also don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But they use the program and they use this look to say, this is how you're going to look. And you know what? Everybody in the fitness industry has been guilty of it. I know I have as well. I think mostly when I posted things that involved that. It was more of a motivational thing. I guess this is just me trying to defend myself. But when it all boils down to it, fitness is truly about consistency. Now, whatever you want to get out of fitness, that's on you. Do you want cosmetic? Meaning, do you just want to look good? That's fine. If that's your motivation in fitness, that's cool. I get it. Everybody wants to look better because if you look better, you're often going to feel better. And the feeling is just as important. The mental is just as important as the physical. So I understand that, and that'll help propel you for the next level. But that's not sustainable. Once you have that look, I can promise you, if you get abs, and everybody has them, but if your abs start to show, your life's not going to suddenly get better. Take it from me. I still pay bills. I still have to go through things in life. There's still stresses. I have to deal with the same idiots that you have to deal with. And I roll my eyes every time some nitwit does something stupid, and I have to just deal with it. It doesn't make life easier. I think that world is misconstrued by a social media edited life that makes everything look like peaches and cream. And it's starting to get on my nerves. So why did I say all that other than just to ramble on and I don't know, vent to you guys? The biggest part about that, the reason why I kind of talked about that is it goes back to where I stand with Relentless and where it started before. So I want to go into history of where Relentless came from. Relentless started with something that was literally to be consistent. And, I was doing an adventure race where it's not a sprint. It's not something that you finish in a day. It's something you finish in 24 hours. So I guess it is a full day. But it was a 64-mile trek that had, at the time, a 93% dropout rate. Now, that rate's changed a little bit, but that was the point. And the idea behind it was, it takes somebody who's not the fittest necessarily, who's not the best equipped, who doesn't have maybe the most talented or all the tools or even the team to get through it or the facilities to help you get in better shape. It's the person who's willing to basically shut it down and focus and zero in on their goal of the finish line, so to speak. It all started with that. And to me, that was proverbial to what fitness represents. That was one race that went into all these other little nuances of what fitness truly is in the daily, the multi-dimensional strengths that we always talk about, whether it's physical strength, whether it's mental strength, whether it's spiritual strength, even when it comes to the health of the people that you surround yourself with. And I'm going to talk about that again today because I got to tell you, wow, what a better place. But I'll get into that. And so when I look at what Relentless Muscle has become, it's morphed into other things and now it's here. This is why it makes sense to me. When I first started, it was Relentless Training Club. That was it, Relentless Training Club. It was all about training. And then it built from Relentless Training Club to Relentless Fit 365, 365 days a year of fitness. I still believe in that. I still support the 365. I'm still a part of it. I just dropped it just because I didn't want it to be too wordy. And we got into Relentless Muscle, and it has softly gone that direction. I know I started it on my YouTube channel. I haven't merged it on the website, but we're getting there. With all that being said, now it's about all those things you went through, all the struggles. Now you have the strength that it's. There's some truth to this called muscle maturity. As you get older and you've built muscle in the past, it becomes easier to build muscle because you've been there. Your muscle remembers it, muscle memory. But there's also a thing called muscle maturity. Muscle maturity has a different type of look, texture, feel. I mean, you can look at somebody and say, that person's been doing it for much longer than just going into the gym for a couple of years. And to me, that's truly where Relentless has become. It has developed a muscle maturity. And, I've done a lot of things wrong with this company, and I'm not saying I'm any direction I'm going to go is better or right or righter. If that's a word, I'm going to make it a word. It works for this context. But it seems to work, and I have no regrets of the past, and it seems to work now. If I do have any regrets, it's not always going with my own vision. I've let others distract me from my vision. And that's kind of where I want to pause all of that. Just keep in mind, when it comes to the website, that's going to change. So Relentless Fit 365 will eventually go into Relentless Muscle. Now, some of you members are probably wondering, well, what's that mean for me? Nothing. You're still going to have access to it. It's just going to be different. You're going to have more options. You're going to have more little tools to go into, more avenues and doors. It's going to improve is my point. I just want to make sure you guys realize I haven't ignored you. It's just taking longer than I thought. I originally wanted this all done in January. And the app will be there eventually as well. Hopefully the app will be there even sooner. Kombucha break. But yeah, those of you looking to kind of start your own business, and if you're, I think that's probably the direction many of you should go these days. If you're not sure, you're better off to trust yourself, your own gut, your own instinct, your own vision, your own drive than somebody else's. Why do I say that? Is just the way times are. Now, I know I work for a company, but this is a different type of company. I couldn't just work for somebody just to work for somebody. That wouldn't work for me, and anybody who knows me understands that's a losing battle for the person that is in charge of me. So there's always been a very good agreement, even on day one, that it's kind of hands off. And I think they realize they can just say, hey, go this direction, and they don't have to micromanage me. And it's one of the reasons I'm on the road all the time, often by myself, because I do get it done. And I'm an entrepreneur. That's never going to die in me. I'm always going to be an entrepreneur. And anybody who is even considering that direction, I recommend it to you highly. Somebody who's willing to put their thoughts into a vision and carry out the vision regardless of the distractions that are out there. But I've learned things. I have learned things in the process of my vision. And one of the problems is I surrounded myself, in some points of my company, I've surrounded myself with people who wanted to bring their vision into my vision. And sometimes that's not a bad thing. I could bring up a few examples of companies where that worked out, but in my case, it wasn't one of them. The vision was always where it should have been in my brain. And I should have trusted my gut, and should have trusted my vision. So if I have any advice to anybody who's out there considering starting a business, or just recently started a business, or has an entrepreneurial mind, what I would say is keep your vision true to yourself and revisit it daily, multiple times a day. Continue to focus on it, continue to rewrite it. But it's you. You live it, you breathe it, you sleep with it, you wake up with it. It's always there. The people who are giving you suggestions from left field or the infamous peanut gallery, those people haven't put the time and the effort and the investment in it, whether it's mentally, physically, or whatever, to understand truly where your vision is. Even if they mean well, it's never going to go the way you wanted it to go, for the most part. Well, and there's always an outlier exception, but I would guess 9 times out of 10, it's probably not going to be an exception. And you're always going to doubt. You're always going to question, even if things go right. If you go against your gut, you're going to regret it regardless. I would rather fail going with my gut than succeed wondering if things would have been better if I went with my gut instead of listening to some left field outlier suggestion. So that's my advice to people who are doing that. Go with your instincts, because they're probably correct. And I'm not suggesting you shut the doors of anybody suggesting things. I think suggestions are good, but understand suggestions and opinions and things from left field are often free. And it's free advice, and that's fine, but take it for what it's worth. It's free. So it's probably not going to be the value that you thought it was going to be. If somebody's giving you advice, you have to ask yourself, have they lived this the way I've lived it? Do they come from an entrepreneurial mindset, or do they work for somebody? If they work for somebody or have worked for somebody for years, chances are their perspective isn't going to be correct. And that's, that's kind of some of the things I got burned in the past, but you learn from that. And now I'm in a position where I can start to rebuild where I wanted Relentless to go in the beginning. And it took a little bit longer, but that merge is probably the exact muscle maturity that was necessary to get to this point. That was a roundabout way of saying I'm pretty excited about some changes that are going to happen in Relentless Muscle. Boom, kombucha time. Man, when is Jake going to shut up? Pretty soon, I promise. It's, what time is it? Clock is a little, I think the clock is wrong, but it's close to, I think it's close to like 1 a.m. Like I said, I had to get things off my chest on this podcast. And sometimes I'm not going to always have like a direct focus of what my podcast is going to be about. But this one was literally like I wanted to talk about some of the housekeeping maintenance things of what's going on with the podcasting, with the fitness things. I have been getting a lot of questions. People on YouTube think I've forgotten YouTube, but it's like, no, I'm posting 6 videos a week. I certainly haven't ignored anybody on YouTube. Now I understand it's not what everybody on YouTube wants, but I'm not concerned about what everybody wants. Let me explain that too, because I don't know if everybody understands that. Another thing, one thing about YouTube. Let me zero in on this one first. One thing about YouTube is if you're posting videos to try to please everybody, you're going to be miserable. Sometimes I'll post videos just to spite people, and that's okay. That's a specialty, and the reason why you want to localize and specialize is that you want to zero in on a mark. And that's what I always recommend. What are some things that can make you better? Localize and specialize. Don't just say we're doing fitness, because that's a big ballpark. It's literally like a universe of ballparks. You want to zero down into something specific. What do you want to specialize in? What do you want to localize in? I want to find people that want to be consistent. Which is one of the reasons I don't offer 30-day programs. If you go on my website, there's 30-day challenges and there's things to kind of keep you going. But most of what I've done has been a constant membership-based, go in day after day and stay consistent. I would rather as a business guy, I would rather charge less and keep you longer because that's where I know you're going to get your results. I could create programs in 30 days that can make anybody lose weight and gain muscle. But it's not sustainable, and so it might work for certain people, but for other people, it's not going to work, or it's, they're just going to get discouraged because it's going to be too intense for them, or it'll work, but they'll get injured. They'll go through this intense, workout program that you have a time frame to get it done. And it's like, oh, I did all this HIIT training and now I hurt my shoulder, I hurt my knee, I hurt this, and to me, that's not smart fitness. Smart fitness is working around certain things, taking your time, getting it done right. Now you can go intense, you can hit it hard, but you have to also know when to pull it back. And that's literally that localize and specialize I like to focus on. People who want to make it a lifestyle. If you're looking to get into better shape in 30 days, because you're in such a rush to do it, I'm probably never going to be your guy, because you have to rely on the intense cardio and you have to rely on the high intensity interval trainings 6 days a week. And that's not what I do. I focus on building strength in different ways. Balance, solid foundations, core, things that I know that are going to be sustainable for life, things that have helped me since I was a child. And I say child because I started actually working out when I was 12. But I did it smart. My dad was all about form, and it worked out good for me because once I started to get into it, I realized form was what's going to help develop my muscle the way it was supposed to be. And had my first gym membership end of 12, going on 13 years old, and then I never looked back. And so if you do things right, I know how long things can take. But if you're consistent and you're patient, it pays off. It really does. That's anything. I've never been in a rush for anything. If you look at my channel, you'll look at the subscribers, and some people will say, oh, you should have more subscribers. I don't disagree with you, but I'm not concerned about that as much as I am about the people that watch me, about the people that are involved. And I think, and many people are going to hear this one. And so I'm talking to all of you who are on the daily live workouts, or even if you're not there live, you're there doing the workouts. You probably end up coming back and listening to this podcast. This is for you guys because you are a part of something that has kept this going. I saw a need and I wanted to keep it going. If there's a community that basically gets together and they're bonding as a way of getting into better shape, they're not just getting into better physical shape, their mental capacity is better. And because one thing I know for a fact is if I had some people going on the chat rooms and just being stupid and being insulting, I know I would kick them off. I've done it in the past. I would certainly do it again. We've had people go on trying to just be insulting. And now I'm sure after I've made this, if I leave this podcast and talk about it, there's going to be one of you nitwits that are on the hater side that are going to go in and try that. Go ahead. I will block you though. And there's also, the good thing is YouTube is on my side when it comes to this hate garbage. I have a platform that I have a lot more control these days over the people who try that. This is not that type of channel. I know I can say on the podcast, I often say things that might be a little bit more controversial, but it's still pretty light. I mean, let's be honest. Everyone knows I'm a moron. Don't take it seriously. Lighten up. Kombucha time. Everyone stop, pause, take a deep breath, and drink some kombucha. You'll feel better, I promise. Or whatever it is that's next to you. Water, tea, coffee, I don't care. Good stuff, guys. Know thyself. I saw that on a tattoo. I was in San Diego, and I saw that on someone. They had a tattoo on their back. It said, know thyself. And I was walking by. I was like, hey, man, I like your tattoo. I was like, that's right, man. Thank you. He knew exactly. He had like a ton of tattoos, but he knew I was talking about know thyself. And I think that's part of the problem these days is we look around and we're searching for affirmation. We post things because we want to get likes. We want to get shares. We want to get people to like us. We want good favorable comments. And I want good favorable comments on the YouTube channel just because I don't want to deal with buffoons just trying to spew hate. So I like attacking bad comments, but ultimately I want positive feedback on a fitness channel, on a channel that's talking about like health and nutrition and lifestyle. That's really where it's all about. So regardless of what you think about like the philosophy of where I go in my business, or regardless of where we may agree or disagree on certain things, one thing I hope we can agree on when it comes to living a better, happier, healthier, fitter life on multi dimensions, your mental focus, your physical focus, spiritual, and then the surroundings of the right people. That's going to be that's going to be the energy that's going to encapsulate the best part, the best version, the strongest version of who you are. And, that's kind of, I think we can pull from a lot of what happened in 2020 and basically say, let's make it a good thing. Let's stop focusing on, it's 500,000 deaths in COVID. All right, but we're still here, right? And if we're still here, what's the best way we can live our life? Criticizing other people? I mean, we can make fun of people back and forth. That's fun. You're going to discover very quickly I have a very good sense of humor so long as you do. And if you can take a joke, I'm certainly going to take a joke. But if I see someone's just kind of derailing somebody just to be hateful, yeah, I'm going to lash back like an angry honey badger. that hasn't eaten his honey in a few days. That's that's just the way it is. But that's the beauty of, what we are as a society. And, having the ability to be on the internet, having the riches to be, to be in touch with so many people throughout the world. All of us who have access to this have that. So something is going right in your life to be able to have access to that. Now, you can come up with a million excuses as to why other things are bad, but you do have access. If you're listening to this, something is going better for you than a lot of other people throughout the world who don't have access to this podcast because they don't have access to the internet and they don't have access to other things to them because it's riches that they can't afford. So, we already have benefits and privileges that other people don't have. Let's use them to the best of our ability to be the strongest people that we can be to help others. And I know that can seem a little lame right now coming from me, especially all the things I like to talk about, but it's true. It really is something that we need to embrace more of. I guess that's my soapbox for the day. I don't have much else to talk about when it comes to that. But knowing yourself, know thyself, I think is something we can pull away from or pull out from all of this, and probably pull out from anything that life can sort of collapse on you in all the rubble and, the building particles and everything else kind of seems to fall on top of you. And when the dust settles and, you're kind of, deranged and bewildered and wondering what's going on, you look around, you find out, hey, things around me may not be standing, but I still am. And I'm getting back on my feet and things can certainly get better and I can make new decisions with a new fresh start. I've talked about this a lot, and that's the friendship that you surround yourself with. And what you'll notice is friends that are during the mediocre times, they're going to be around when it benefits them. That's mediocre times. It's when you truly hit the wire of your worst. Which friend, which person in your life is going to step up for you? Which person is going to be there for you? Which person will drop everything to make sure that you're okay? Those are truly the people you need to embrace. The others, I'm not saying you don't have to, you could probably keep them around if it benefits you in some way, but at some point, that friend will drop you when it gets too difficult. I've seen it happen time and again. When something better comes along in their life and they think they don't need you anymore, they're quick to move on and say, enough is enough, I don't need to deal with you. So no matter how many times you might be there for them, they're not really a friend to you, and that's actually unhealthy anyway. And, I think that's the last thing I want to close on is, on these multidimensional strengths, that one has meant the most to me lately because I've seen a lot of close people, or so I thought, kind of walk away. And this has been not just during COVID, this has been kind of a 2-year process of seeing the true character of people. And you truly will learn who somebody is based on what they do when you need something like severe. When it becomes important enough where it's like, maybe even life or death, will this person be there for you? And if the answer is no, they're not going to be there for you when you need them in the big picture when something better comes along. And, that's truly somebody that's probably a cancer, a virus, a COVID lover that you need to possibly quarantine forever. Don't worry, COVID lovers. COVID's not really quarantined. But I will say, if COVID ever gets my virus, it ain't never going to be the same. Guys, thanks for listening. Always remember, eat healthy, train hard, most especially have fun. And if you have any questions, you know the deal. Go to the YouTube channel, leave it in the comments section. But you can also download this now on Spotify. And if you're hearing it on Spotify, cool. It's finally working. I'm slowly getting better at podcasting, even though I still kind of suck at it. But we'll continue to get better, and I'm going to repost the where's, don't be a Karen one. I don't know what happened to that one, but I'm going to try to get it back up there eventually. So I apologize to the ones who wanted it back and they couldn't find it. All right, guys, take care. Have fun. I'm out.